The action takes place on US soil in 1950. Jack and Alice live in an ideal neighborhood, enjoying a special luxury. The family eats well, drives an expensive car, and do not deny themselves pleasures. In addition to them, there are other couples living in the neighborhood, couples with whom they often spend time. Every day, Jack and the other men go off into the wilderness to work. Alice and her friends stay at home on the farm. They keep things cozy, cleaning, cooking a hearty meal, and waiting for the men to return. The women know almost nothing about their spouse's work because the men keep their earnings a great secret. The only thing they know is the existence of some secret project called Victory. What exactly do and how do the spouses earn is unknown. However, nobody is embarrassed by this. After all, there are only two rules. Do not ask unnecessary questions and do not enter the desert that surrounds this small town. It is believed that if the women leave safe place, they will put their lives in incredible danger. In their free time, the friends spend their free time in ballet class and going shopping in posh malls. Previously, they were friends with another housewife, but the woman has suffered some mental illness, so they stop hanging out. Turns out she had taken her own son into the desert, thereby knowingly putting his life in danger. The boy died after all. Margaret, however, is convinced that this was a severe punishment for her personal curiosity. One day, the entire neighborhood goes to a party thrown by Frank and his wife Shelley. He is the most influential man in the neighborhood, and he is the one the other men work for. Everyone are having fun and just having an easy time. After a few moments, Margaret appears and utters an unusual phrase. The girl's words shock the residents, for she declares that they have no place in the neighborhood. No one seems to pay much significance, but Alice reacts excitedly to her words. Then the girl notices Margaret's husband taking her to a distant room and tries to give her sedative medication. The heroine is confused and tries to quickly figure it all out. The girl tries to tell Jack everything, but he won't let her speak up. As the girl was making a juicy dinner, she notices that the chicken eggs inside are completely empty. She can't believe her eyes and decides to take it easy by going into town. The heroine gets on the streetcar and makes several steady laps. Soon, Alice sees the crash of an airplane that has crashed high up in the mountains. Knowing that it is strictly forbidden, the woman hits the road anyway. She thinks that the pilot and characters on the ship may need an emergency that the girl can present. Once at the top of the mountain, she discovers a beautiful building in the form of a white dome. Alice tries to call for help, and touching the dome gives her, she begins to hallucinate intensely. She does not understand what is happening, and after, the heroine's consciousness is switched off after a moment. Alice wakes up in her house and hears her husband. She hears her husband doing something in the kitchen. Rising from the bed, the girl was surprised because her husband had never come so early. In addition, she does not remember how she was home again. Asking Jack what he saw when he came home, she got no answers to her questions. She did not get any answers because her husband said that she was already in the bedroom. Tales of the plane crash, Jack ignores it and accepts it as mere fiction. Gradually, the main character's life turns into a nightmare. Constant hallucinations and paranoid thoughts consumes the poor housewife. Soon, in ballet class, she sees something very strange in a mirror reflection. Alice notices a picture of a former friend's gruesome death. She decides to talk to Margaret and goes to her house. The girl was already standing on the roof, cutting her own throat. Moments later, poor Margaret is jumping down. Suddenly, the men in red show up and drag our heroine. After waiting for her husband from work, Alice decides to tell everything. She wants her husband to finally believe and to listen to his wife's assumptions and fears. Of course, Jack again does not believe and ignores all words. The man convinces her that everything said is the result of shock because of what she saw earlier. In fact, Margaret was just cleaning the windows and just slipped up. Furthermore, Dr. Collins, who is Frank's partner, confirms the man's story. He prescribes Alice sedatives, but at the moment the prescription is written, the girl notices a strange folder called Threatened Safety. The heroine decides to steal the strange folder discreetly to find out the truth. However, she fails to read the records and gets closer to the truth. Alice is at a loss. Is she really losing her mind? She has no exact answer because everything around her is just a hallucinations, which doesn't bring the town any closer to a clue. The next day, all residents of the township go to another victory party. At some point, Alice realizes that she can no longer be in the company of these strange people and asks her husband to leave the meeting. However, the man ignores all warnings and requests and continues to have fun. The boss appoints him partner, and this event is very important to him. Unable to contain her emotions any longer, the heroine goes to the ladies' room where her friend Bunny comes. She tries to find out how Alice is feeling as the girl is very anxious lately. She tells her all her thoughts and suppositions. Her friend doesn't believe her either and suggests she put away all her silly thoughts and start living peacefully. She proposes to return to the hall with the other guests and to rejoice in her spouse's promotion. A few days later, Alice and her husband invite their neighbors to visit, but they miss Bunny. They also invited Frank and his wife. While the husband was busy making small talk with neighbors, Frank came into the kitchen to see the girl. He already knows about her conversation with Bunny and hints transparently that she is right in her assumptions. However, he still won't be able to figure it all out on his own. Shocked by Alice's answer, she decides to take it out right at the festive table. It turns out that most married couples have the same dating history. They've all spent their honeymoons in the same places and were even born in the same cities. The heroine tries to reveal the truth to everyone present, but again, no one believes her. Everyone considers the lady strange and in some places even crazy. When all the guests have gone home, the lovely Alice once again tries to talk and prove to her husband what he is all about. She asks him only one thing: to leave this horrible town. To her surprise, her husband quickly agrees, and she set out to gather the necessary things for the move. However, once in the car, it became clear that he had absolutely no intention of moving. The spouse turned her in, allowing the men in red suits to take his beloved away. Dr. Collins, along with his close associates, subject the girl to electroconvulsive therapy, and in between torments, heroine sees snippets from her past life. It was this beautiful life that was her reality. It turns out she was an accomplished surgeon who worked around the clock to make ends meet. Jack was totally unemployed and only sat all day and night on the couch. After a while, Alice returns to her husband's house. She has no remember the recent events, but the hallucinations still give her no peace of mind. Just when everyone thought the girl had gotten better after the procedure, Alice is reminded of the truth again. The fact is that Victory is just a simulation that was once created by Frank. It turns out that her spouse knows all about it. Moreover, he's the one who forced her to become part of a fictional world against the girl's will. When Jack realized that the girl knew everything, he decided to try to keep her in a parallel universe. The guy swears that he did it for their mutual benefit, because in reality they lived very poor and meager. He always wanted to be able to live a perfect life and not to kill himself in his old room. The heroine is terrified and doesn't know what to do now. Jack tells her about the conditions of such membership in this strange community. It turns out, husbands take responsibility for their wives by deliberately forcing them into a hidden simulation. The people here are completely real. It's just that their real bodies are in a kind of coma under the influence of unusual lenses. Alice wants to return to normal reality, but her husband won't let the girl go. Clutching her tightly in his arms, Jack leaves the girl in the apartment. Then, to free herself, the heroine grabs glass and strikes her husband, after which Jack falls dead along the floor. Meanwhile, Frank is informed that the man is dead and he sends his men after Alice. The girl, almost no time left to save herself as the streets are already sounding alarm. Bunny runs into the house and asks the heroine to run away from the town as soon as possible. Fred has long been aware of the simulation and consciously chose this side of reality. Here, she has children whom she lost in reality. Bunny tries to explain that Jack is dead in all realities. This means that no one can disconnect the girl from the simulation, and she needs to get out of this place immediately. Walking out into the street in a bloody dress, she notices that the other husbands have started to panic a lot because of about what has happened in the neighboring family. Meanwhile, while Frank was on the phone, Shelley decides to kill her spouse. She wants to regain control of her mind, so she had no other choice. The protagonist guesses that in order to get back to reality, she needs to get to the end of the mountain range, to that very white building. Alice gets into the car of her dead spouse and tries to escape. She is immediately. A chase of several cars begins to pursue the strange girl. They do not want the heroine to return to the real world. The heroine managed to get to the top. However, before the last step, she sees her living spouse. He begs the girl to stay in the simulation, but the girl no longer wants to lie to her thoughts and live in an imaginary reality. Alice touches the window, thereby leaving the unknown simulation.